Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dynamic Tora Podcast. Over the next few weeks, we're going to dedicate a few episodes to the Yamim Noraim. So for this week's episode, we dive into some broad themes of Rosh HaShanah. We discuss the idea of Teshuva. We discuss the idea of why the Torah does not have so many details in it about what Rosh HaShanah is, how Chachamim added so much meaning to the holiday, and much more. So stick around. Thank you again for everyone who watches. Please like and subscribe and share with anyone who you believe would enjoy this content and enjoy this week's episode. Episode 15. The big one, 5.
Shir Ma'alot.
Shir Ma'alot.
In other words, there's 15 Shir Ma'alot.
Oh, there are?
There were 15 steps.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was 15. I thought it was a different number.
In the Ulam, I think. Yeah.
Very nice. Beautiful. So, today I hear we're going to start doing a little series on Rosh HaShanah.
Yes, mini-series.
A mini-series on Rosh HaShanah.
But before,
oh boy.
somebody mentioned to me that they heard the Tisha B'Av's podcasts that we did, and in particular they were very intrigued about the history that Josephus writes about and that we spoke about, and how we had different factions among the Jewish people, some more civil than others, and some were actually extremely violent towards other Jewish people, to the point of murder and throwing people off walls and starvation on purpose and stealing their food. It was very descriptive what we went for. The person told me, I've never heard this. I never heard of this history. I'll go, I understand. And I asked them, why do you think you never heard of this? So the person says, it sounds very harsh. And the way you were saying it, it sounded very harsh. And I said, so why is that even a problem? That it's so harsh and blunt and descriptive? Because, well, it's uncomfortable to know that we had a group of Jewish people that were doing this, as well as we had major internal conflict within our people for a number of years, of decades, easily decades, if not a couple of centuries from the time post-Hashmonaim era. And we're not used to this. And I said, it is harsh. It is hard to stomach that we behaved this way, that we were this way. And one of the reasons is, I give the person 2 reasons. One reason is, in general, we were taught be it in schools, regular education, as well as in classes and in synagogues, very rarely, really, really very rarely, do you ever hear self-criticism of who we were and who we are now. Unless, let's say, for example, you're learning a passage in the Chumash in the Bible where it says, oh, the Jewish people did that. They made a golden calf. They constantly rebelled against God in the desert. On and on and on. And maybe in the book of Judges, Shoftim, you'll hear them, oh, they're following the ways of the Canaanites. And then you had the episode with the tribe of Benjamin. And maybe if you happen to now go into the book of Samuel, but not the whole book of Samuel, only the certain episodes that are in particular, let's say, to Saul and then David, but not really the nitty-gritty stuff. And we usually don't hear about this. Another reason, I said, is that unfortunately, the books of the prophets are not read or taught. we read the book of Isaiah, the book of Jeremiah, some of the minor prophets, the book of Ezra and the book of Nehemiah, we read them. Just read through them.
Yeah.
We're going to see how harsh the leaders of the Jewish people, who were those people I just mentioned, were reprimanding the Jewish people. It was not soft at all. It was not fuzzy. It was very harsh. And that is part of the problem. We're not used to this. We're used to hearing stories that only the good things about who we are, or especially a lot of the legends, be it maybe in Midrashim, be it maybe in some Talmudic literature. Definitely, we have a lot of these stories of how saintly some communities were in medieval times. Rabbis who are viewed as always saints, you never hear them ever making a mistake.
Infallible.
Kind of. So suddenly, we get a raw picture. It's raw. Oh, it stirs us up. It makes us feel uncomfortable. Which really leads us to the theme of Rosh HaShanah and Kippur. What is it? What are these 2 days in particular really about? So, in the Torah, Rosh HaShanah is not mentioned that way. It's mentioned as Zichron Teruah.
Yeah.
The remembrance of a Teruah sound, of a certain sound that was known not only to the Jewish people, but known throughout the entire region. It was a certain call of a horn. We call that a shofar. And what was it? What's the purpose of these sounds and horns? It was done for particular reasons. One reason, obviously, was their mode of communication. Okay, so, for example, the Jewish people would use the blasts of a horn if they're about to departure from a territory, or they're going and now they're going to settle. They're going to encamp in a territory.
Yeah.
Okay, that was one thing. It was also used for communication in time of wars and battles, like a battle cry. When does the army march? When do they stop? Are they going left? Are they going right? Are they going? In other words, that was their mode of communication at the same time. That was the practical use of shofar, right? The sound of a horn of an animal, not only for us, but for the whole region, by the way, right? As well as to make somebody alert. So, what does Rosh HaShanah have anything to do with this? Rosh HaShanah is the word, I mean, those words, Rosh HaShanah, is a rabbinic creation. Why? Because Rosh HaShanah, Tishre, is the 7th month of the year. Nisan is really the new year, as a matter of fact. That's the first month of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We need to think about it. Because if anything that needs rejuvenation, it's in the springtime. Nisan.
Okay.
What is the 7th month of the cycle and land of Israel have anything to do with rejuvenation? If anything, it's when things are dying out, and it's the end of the harvest right before Sukkot. And then you have 6 months between Sukkot and Pesach that the land is not really producing. It's only starting to produce a little bit before Pesach. This is odd. It's really odd. If you think about it, if you break it down.
Yeah.
On a cyclic level. You know?
Right.
So what's really going on over here? Prehistoric people did not understand the concept of time. the way we understand time. For them, time didn't actually exist. How did they maneuver within the environment that they're in? It had to do with the cycles of weather, as well as the cycle of what is the land doing. It really had to do with what the land is doing and what is happening with the weather. That was it. Not the sun, not the moon. None of this. It didn't apply. Again, this is prehistoric times.
Okay.
So what it meant to them is that there is no actual months. It all pretty much dependent on when things are happening within the agricultural aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Move on to historical humans. Okay? Homo sapiens, civilization. Now we move past that. Now we were able to calculate time based on months, the lunar, okay, and eventually also the solar. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and we were also able to calculate and understand that the most frequent time and the most frequent beginning and end has to do with the day. Mm-hmm. The sun rises, the sun sets. That's it.
Right.
Now, the early Mesopotamians somehow, we don't know how they did this, somehow figured this out and created a language to express this called math. They invented math, the early Mesopotamians. We're talking about 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. They are the ones who were able to calculate a lunar month, a solar year, not exactly, but a solar year. Okay? They were able to calculate a 24-hour day.
Wow.
They were able to calculate a 60-minute hour, and they were able to calculate a 60-second minute. And we have evidence of this. We have the mathematical formulas of this based on tablets that were found between 150 until now, which is something that is inexplicable how they figured this out. More than this, a few years ago, usually who are the ones who are credited with the Pythagorean formula?
Greeks.
The Greeks.
Yeah.
A few years ago, an article came out based on tablets evidence that they found. New, it's always emerging because there's tens of thousands of them. That the Mesopotamians of that time already had the formula of what the Pythagoreans Greek had.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
They even had calculation of geometry, basic geometry. These were highly sophisticated people, not the common people, but their minds, and it all had to do with astronomy. They were able to navigate the night sky, the constellations. Again, highly sophisticated. Now you can understand later on why they actually started to slowly be attracted to the whole concept that the effect of stars and constellations have on people and destinies. It was so important to them that they started to worship them too.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.
When they realized how beneficial those things are, the sun, the moon, the stars. No, not really. Think in a primitive way. How beneficial they are. For them to have structure, for them to have such advanced civilizations, how can they not be viewed as gods? From a primitive mind.
Sure.
A side note, Avraham Avinu stems from
Yeah.
these people, by the way. According to Philo, that is how Avraham Avinu realized that there's one God, through the astronomy and the mathematics of his time that he was living in. Highly sophisticated. God didn't speak to him prior to that. He spoke to him when he was 75.
Yeah.
Chachamim tell us when he was 40, he finally concluded, okay, based on the scientific data of his time, that there has to be one Lord who governs all of this. Okay? we can have one day a whole a class about this concept, about this idea, which shows you something, that this whole idea of rejuvenation was always in the minds of the ancients. Both the agricultural rejuvenation, okay, as well as how does the human fit within this rejuvenation aspect? How do I fit in it? Why? I'm part of the nature. So where is my rejuvenation? That is something, okay, that ancient people view themselves, we're just simply part of the natural rejuvenation.
The cycle. We're part of the cycle.
Exactly.
We're going with the currents.
Exactly.
Once this month comes, once this time period happens, okay, we know how we need to act and behave, whether to cultivate the land. As they moved into more agricultural society from the nomadic primitive society.
So because they viewed themselves as the reason why they view themselves as part of the rejuvenation of nature is because they're dependent on nature so much. And on the land so much, they say, we're part of it. That is our rejuvenation.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, the Jewish people, Semitic people, that's who we are, we understood this. We got it. If you look at the Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, or our agricultural cycles, we celebrate the abundance and thanking God and offerings and first fruit and first sheep and whatever you want. We have this.
Yeah.
This is not something foreign to us. However, the Torah introduces another layer. What's another layer? It says, on the 7th month, on the first day of the 7th month, there's going to be a sacred day, and it's going to be called Zichron Teruah, the remembrance of the Teruah sound. Okay, this is bizarre.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything? In other words, I understand, each one of the other holidays, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, they have main themes.
Yeah.
Okay. The theme of Yom Kippur, got it. It's a day of atonement, of forgiveness. Okay. What is this? What is this about? Zichron Teruah.
Yeah.
In the Bible itself,
it doesn't say anything.
It doesn't expand.
It's 2 Pesukim.
That's it.
I have it right here.
In Vayikra, in Parashat Emor.
Yes.
Even in the book of Pinechas, when it goes to the korbanot, it just says this korban and have a good day. It doesn't expand. It doesn't say, which is something very weird.
Yeah.
Why is it also on the 7th month?
Right.
Why is it also towards the end of the harvest? And not the first. It should be the 1st of Nisan. Or the 1st of Shevat, the 12th month. I'm sorry, the Shevat is also early spring. Or
Adar.
Adar.
Yeah.
Adar is the month before Pesach. Do it on the 1st of Adar. Or the 15th of Adar. Why? Rejuvenation. On purpose, the Torah is moving us away from the pagan concept of agricultural rejuvenation, that we're part of it. No, you're not.
I mean, the 3 main holidays are based on
Yes.
that cycle.
But it has nothing to do with what the description of this day is. Zichron Teruah. What does that have to do with anything? So, what is this? Where is this going? Chachamim understood this. Chachamim understood this dilemma, by the way. Hence, they added to it Yom Hadin, the day of judgment. Okay, Yom Teruah, the day of the Teruah, not only remembrance of Teruah, the day of Teruah.
Yeah.
Right? Rosh HaShanah, right?
Right.
The head of the year, but it's really not the head. It's the 7th. It's like the half.
Right. It's past half.
Past half
Past
of
half
the year.
of the year. Yeah.
It's just interesting. Okay.
Right.
what are we commemorating? Zichron, to remember. We are the first people in history to understand the power of memory and that we have to remember. If we don't remember, we automatically are going to default into oblivion. If we don't recognize our past, then the present has no meaning. And how can you plan the future then? What are we remembering when it says Zichron Teruah? When was there a Teruah sound that the Jewish people said, yeah, I can remember the Teruah one time and one time alone, Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai. When the revelation of God and His will, the Decalogue, is going to be transmitted to the Jewish people. Of course, you have those major natural phenomena that are going on, and a sound of a shofar. A sound of a shofar. So what's the connection? The connection is that when we remember the sound of the shofar at Mount Sinai, now I'm going to remember my obligations and my covenant with God. Oh, therefore, I'm now able to judge myself, not according to the whims of man. I'm going to judge myself according to the covenant that I have with God, because I'm part of it. And therefore, I can see where I need to do Teshuva, where I need forgiveness, contemplate, change my way, change my direction, which leads me to Yom Kippur, which is the day of forgiveness. If I made the turn. If I did not make the detour back to God's way, I'm not forgiven. So Chachamim understood that before we have a day of forgiveness, we need a day of accounting. Judgment. So when it says that God is judging us, what does it really mean? We need to judge ourselves according to His covenant, to His will. Why? We accepted it. I accepted to be under God's contract. Therefore, God is summoning me to court. His law is summoning me to give accounting. What are you doing wrong? Not only that, what are you doing right that you can even do better? How can you ask for forgiveness if you don't know what you're doing wrong? How can you know what you're doing wrong if you're not going to judge yourself? How can you judge yourself if you don't have a criteria? That is where the genius that Chachamim, our sages, introduced more layers of what this day is about, and not just Zichron Teruah. Okay, what am I supposed to do? No?
Yeah.
Again, definitely very profound ideas, not only to us, but for all of humanity. Now, it's giving us a day, leading us to Kippur to do this accounting. However, if we take seriously, and it's very difficult, I admit, what we say every day in the Amidah on a regular basis, right? The second thing we ask for God after intelligence is help us repent.
Teshuva.
And then we're asking God, please forgive us, because you're the source of all forgiveness. So it's in the beginning of the Amidah. We can do this at any moment. Why? God never takes away our freedom of choice. We always have this freedom of choice. We had the freedom of choice to accept the covenant with God. We have the freedom of choice to judge ourselves according to that covenant. And we have the freedom of choice whether or not we're forgiven by God. How do I know if I'm forgiven by God? If I change my way according to His will, automatically I am forgiven. What, He sends me a message? He sends me a prophet to tell me? No.
Right. And that's always the part where, do you really know?
Yes, you do know. We do know. If I am aware of what are my responsibilities, but again, that's why in Judaism, which is something fascinating, if a Jewish person never was educated with about how to do mitzvot never knew I'm not allowed to eat crab. I'm not allowed to violate Shabbat. I never knew. That person is not held accountable because the Torah is something that is taught. You can't learn it by nature. You can't learn it on your own. It needs to be transmitted to you. That's why even an earthly court cannot try a person I didn't know. My parents didn't educate me. I didn't go to a Jewish school. I don't live next to a synagogue to know what I'm supposed to. I never had a Jewish class. This is like a tinok shenishba. This is like a child that was, that was kidnapped and held hostage and grew up with goyim and non-Jews. You can't hold this person accountable. We don't hold that person. God doesn't hold this person accountable. So that is why, when in order to do Teshuvah, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what your responsibilities are. The more you know, the more you're accountable. Now we can understand. This is fascinating. Now we can understand when Chachamim say that God judges in a very, very meticulous way tzaddikim, righteous people.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they know better. What is? Yeah. So the onus is on the person, is on the individual.
It's like
the more you know, the more you are accountable.
Right. It's like the weight of your actions are much heavier than someone who's unaware.
And that's going to determine how God judges you. Yeah. Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah, he got upset. He gave the wrong impression to the Jewish people. Okay. Oh, that was harsh. You can't go in.
So, okay. So it sounds like it sounds like okay. It sounds like justice.
But it's our perception. I want to get this clear.
Okay.
All these things are really the perception of how we're supposed to view ourselves. What is one of the most basic core principles of what the Torah tells us? You need to be responsible for your actions. You're not going to blame anybody. You have freedom of choice, and you're accountable for what you do. You will not escape. You will not get a free lunch. You will not get away with it. That is a theme throughout the whole Tanakh. Be it personal, be it national, be it Jewish, be it not Jewish. It doesn't matter who you are. Okay? If you're a minor, obviously, it doesn't apply to you. Okay? It could be a king, right? It could be a business person. It could be anybody. But the only way that you can be held accountable, are you aware this is wrong? Well, my daddy never told me I can't murder. I'm sorry, hold on a second. But you live in a society where this is not acceptable. You can't do this. Just because your dad you didn't go to school, you live in a society. What trade are you in? Oh, I trade cars. But you steal. I didn't know I can't steal. I never went to school. No one taught me. Excuse me, you live in a society where stealing is not allowed. You can't get away with it. Now, are there certain things ritually? Yeah. Is there recourse to do teshuvah and to correct oneself? Yes. Even that's freedom of choice. How about this?
Okay.
How does a person really know when they do something wrong? How do they know? They feel it.
They feel it.
In general. Unless the person has some really sick value system, okay? Unless he's mentally diagnosed with something. This guy is nuts. In general, when we do something wrong, even children, there's a certain age that children hit, and they know. Why? Because they're okay. This is okay. You can't do this. You can't touch this. You can't hit your brother. Okay. They learn, right? They get it. So that's part of being human, by the way, in human society. So we know when we do something wrong. It's a sense that we have because culturally it's around us, and we even say it's part of our Tzenim Elohim. It's part of the image of God, of a higher level of consciousness, that when I see myself and I don't associate my behavior with the way animals do, I see the distinction between me and them, so I'm also learning that I can't do what they do.
Okay.
That is one of the ways that humans also slowly evolved and had their own human behavior aspect, civilization, on and on and on. Okay. The story of Cain and Abel. Okay. Cain gets upset that his brother brought a nice sacrifice and all that. Okay. And the Torah says that God accepted Abel's sacrifice, but did not accept Cain's sacrifice. Did God ever tell Cain, "I don't accept your sacrifice"? He never said that to him.
He felt it.
He knew it.
He knew it.
Didn't he? He knew it.
He knew it.
He knew it. And it's not what he brought. It's his own feeling of who he saw himself. It's not the object. It's, do I feel close to God? If I feel close to God and I'm comfortable in the presence of God, it means that I'm more innocent. It means that I'm more aware of my actions and I'm doing the best that I can to be a good human being.
Yeah.
The reason why Cain felt that God did not accept, it says God didn't accept Cain and then his offering. The Torah is brilliant, so accurate. Sure. Because Cain didn't accept who he was. In relation to who? Abel. Cain rejected who he was, telling us something important. In order for me to be in God's presence, comfortable, I need to have a good conscience of who I am. That is why, throughout the Torah, by the way, you have the term lifnei Adonai, in the presence of God. Yeah, but if you read the Prehistoric very closely, very critically, you'll see under what condition you can be lifnei Adonai. It's conditional. It's behavioral. It's your character. The mitzvot help us, keep us in that comfort zone if we're doing it sincerely. Just because we see people who mitzvot, some are great, some are insincere, some have ulterior motives. In their inner heart, they know God does not accept this. Their inner heart, not their lev arel, not their covered heart, right? Their uncircumcised heart.
Sure.
But their pure heart, let's put it that way.
Sure. Sure. What you were saying before made me think that the perception of justice, right, and the symbolism of justice, that justice is blind, right? Lady Justice is blind. Should be. But it sounds like when God is passing justice or a tzed or a din on all of us, it's not blind at all. There's
No, it is blind. Meaning
it's not blind.
There's one law that applies to everyone,
but
nobody can. One second. Okay. Nobody can bribe God. God doesn't take any favors. God doesn't care about your financials. God doesn't care how you look. No. I'm judging you according to your actions. Now, however, the result of it, the sentencing of it might be different. Meaning, there might be a sentences that's strictly justice. as well as there might be in sentences that's based on compassion and mercy.
Right.
Compassion and mercy are beyond judgment, beyond justice. Yeah, you did X, Y, and Z, and you did this and this and that. The sentence should be this. Sometimes God says, I'm going to defer. We only want God to deal with us in a compassionate way. And I have to say, I really have to say, God is always dealing with humanity and the entire existence of the universe in a compassionate, kind, and caring way, or else it would not exist.
That's okay. That you mean to say that if you take the other extreme, that it was just justice, we wouldn't be around. That's what you're trying to say?
Not only us. The entire universe.
The entire universe, fine. But it's the balance between the two, so to speak, right?
Of course.
It's not, you can't.
You need a balance.
It's not one extreme over another.
You need a balance, because when you're too compassionate, then you're going to get everybody gets going to get away with everything. Okay? If you're too strict, every mistake I'm going to do, I'm going to get whacked.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever whack that is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There is a balance. And now keep in mind, compassion, mercy of God, is based on God's justice. Not the other way around. The criteria of God being merciful and compassionate, the criteria is based on God's justice, the law. This is the law.
So it's, right.
When you break that law, right, then we need to have a talk. We want God to be Avinu. We view God as our Father. Okay? Then He's Malkenu. Father is more compassionate, merciful. Malkenu is more just.
Yeah.
Why is it important that we view God also as just? Because He's the only one who tells us what's right and wrong. Someone who's compassionate and merciful, their right and wrong often skewed, because they're strictly viewing things from their heart, from emotion. So in Judaism, the Torah, really, it's a balance of both. It's really a balance of both, and it's never equal. It's always a little bit like this.
Seesaws.
Yeah. Yes, we need to take care of the poor. No one says no. But at the same time, the poor also needs to start taking care of themselves. What is the downfall of the welfare system that began in the time of Roosevelt in the 1930s? It was strictly in order to help those American people after the crash.
The Great Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should have been temporary. It made sense. Crash. Okay. We can't let justice.
Right.
The heck with 90% of the. What the heck? All right, let's create something, compassion, to help get out of this, for the majority to get out of it. Okay. And the majority did. It didn't stop till today. What the welfare system did, unfortunately, it created more poor people. Because it's convenient. I'm getting everything for free. And I don't mind the lifestyle that I live. But I'm getting it for free. What does the Torah say? What does Halakha say? What is the greatest tzedakah you can give a person?
Giving them opportunity.
To what?
Job.
A job, to work. Do you know what that does, ultimately? Not only lift himself, but it's a ripple effect that this person can also help others through their own income, their own means now. And not just have a welfare society where everybody, is just getting benefit and they're not giving back. In other words, what you're doing with inflation, you're making them even poorer. You're making them more dependent. Now they're having children. How often are these children going to get out of the situation? It's usually a cycle, by the way. It's usually a cycle. There are exceptions, I know, but it's usually a cycle. And what? Countries that have a welfare program, the more children you have, the more money you're going to get. That's an incentive. That's not that is detrimental. So the Torah doesn't go that path. It doesn't. It says that we definitely need to take care of the poor. And it's usually, when the Torah deals about the poor, it's talking about very particular people. Orphans, who's taking care of them? Widows, 99.something% of the population were poor, peasants. A woman who wasn't married, okay, had no one to take care of her. What did she do? Either, she's a peddler, or she goes into prostitution. The same thing with children. If we didn't take care of children, they were sold as slaves. Slaves in general were abused and then prostituted, because you can make money by prostituting them. You pimp them out. As well as strangers. People who wanted to be part of another foreign nation, right? In general, they were not people of wealth and all that. No, they were people who were just looking for better opportunities. I'll work for you and I'll be okay, whatever it is. They were poor. They were neglected. So what does the Torah say? Let's take care of these individuals who could be very easily taken advantage of. Not go into a life that could be crime, that can be prostitution, that can be theft, that can be really bad gangs, all this. Let's try to mitigate that risk less, and we'll take care of them. Because ultimately, what do they really need? Food, clothing, some shelter, an opportunity to maybe be able to support themselves, but not welfare.
Right. So that's the area where and welfare is when compassion goes too far and empathy goes too far.
It's blind. That in other words, you're just giving for the sake of giving and not, am I really helping this person at the end of the day?
Right. You might just be enabling them to continue in this path. Whereas justice is the hard line of
don't give them anything.
Don't give them anything at all. So it's always a balancing act between the two. So when it comes to Rosh HaShanah, we're coming and asking God for compassion and mercy more than justice.
Rosh Hashanah? We're not.
Rosh Hashanah, we're asking.
It's really more, it's a day of judgment.
It's a day of judgment.
But in order for us to reflect, then we can ask God, can you deal with me in a compassionate way?
So that's Yom Kippur. So you're saying, okay, so
we want to accept God's justice. We're not hiding from it. We're not running away like what Adam and Eve did.
So Rosh Hashanah is basically the day where we're supposed to open ourselves up and really take full account and be fully honest and transparent with our actions, be active with our feelings, with our thoughts, how we treated others, how we related to God, and do a full accounting of it.
And take responsibility of what am I going to do to be better. Now, it's very difficult, if not impossible, for a human being to go through everything, obviously.
Sure.
But choose things that stand out. Like, what is it that I do that occurs more in a frequent way, more in a pattern? Maybe that's the first thing I should stop. Because if I can stop a pattern, which is very difficult, then I can stop things that are rare, that don't occur. This is where the whole idea of not agricultural rejuvenation comes in, but the rejuvenation of the soul. That's Rosh HaShanah. It's painful. It's painful to admit what we do wrong. It's painful to admit I have bad tendencies. It's painful to admit I succumb to my temptations, whether people know it or not. It's painful. If we're honest, it's painful. And then I confront my Maker and express that to Him, and I'm asking for forgiveness. It's painful to admit. And decide I'm going to go a different path. That is really what the so-called v'initem et nafshotechem. The Torah says on Yom Kippur, you shall afflict your soul. It doesn't say afflict your body. The whole thing that we fast, and later on, Chachamim say you can't have mad relations and you can't wear leather shoes.
Washing your
and
hands.
you can't wash yourself.
Yeah.
Those are strictly means in order for us to be somewhat physically uncomfortable, so we can focus on being uncomfortable with our soul, with our true essence. No masks. That takes enormous courage, and it takes enormous amount of energy to do this. If it's done honestly, it's draining. That's why we have 10 days. 10 days to do this, because this is not an easy task. If it's done correctly, it's not easy.
No.
Guess what? People who go to therapy to fix themselves with a good therapist. There's a lot of bogus going, but a really good therapist, a 1 hour session is beyond mentally draining if it's powerful.
Of course. Definitely.
Beyond mentally draining, you need to put your head down.
It's very intense.
Forget physical. Physical is nothing compared to what our mind has to go through. So imagine now you're doing this in front of God in an honest way. You got 10 days, because it's draining. It's not easy.
Right.
But it's amazing. Look how God loves us so much, cares for us, that He's always giving us here's an opportunity to become better.
Yeah. Here's an opportunity. It's necessary. It's necessary for us to have a day like this.
More than this, the first people in history, and the first book in history, to ever suggest or say that a God forgives is the Torah in the Jewish people.
I mean, the concept of forgiveness is very foreign.
It didn't exist.
It's unnatural.
Among the pagans, it did not exist. There is no such thing as mercy, compassion, and forgiveness among the gods of the Mesopotamians, the Egyptians. They didn't have it. No way. Everything is according to how nature pretty much worked.
No, forgiveness is beyond reason.
Now you can understand when Moshe Rabbeinu asks God, make known to me your ways. You know why he says this to him? He didn't know. Nowhere before does God say, I forgive. Look at scripture from Bereshit until Parashat Kitisa, the middle, little Exodus, right? Nowhere does it say, God says, I forgive, I'm forgiven. It doesn't say this. This is part of the revelation. Not at the revelation at Sinai, okay, the first revelation, but this is a revelation for Moshe to share with the Jewish people, and it becomes part of the covenant. That's part of the revelation.
The whole idea of forgiveness itself.
Forgiveness and merciful and patient and long, it's okay, I'll give you another chance. That is part of the revelation of the covenant. This is something no one knew. Again, even Moshe Rabbeinu, he didn't know.
Well, yeah. It goes against.
It's one thing, you see, there's one thing that the Torah says God forgives, okay? And there's another thing when the Torah says God puts away. God as if ignores it.
Okay.
Right? Because what does Moshe Rabbeinu say to God when the Jewish people did the golden calf?
It says a lot.
No. He says, if you don't forgive the Jewish people, if you don't forgive them, right? But what's the language? Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't say, if you don't forgive them,
ואתה אם תישא חטאתם.
תישא.
ואם אין מחנינה מספרך שכתבת.
What's לשאת in Hebrew?
Carry.
To carry.
To carry.
See that? But forgiveness is, I'm not carrying. It's over. It's over. It's done. That is the revelation that people didn't know. And that revelation of forgiveness is based on God's mercy and compassion. Why didn't, the same thing with Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu never said to God, please forgive them. He just says, can you spare them?
Can you spare them?
But not forgive them.
Right.
Because in the same way how a king can spare a subject, this was not known. This is revolutionary. The Torah is revolutionary. Revolutionary from beginning to end with its ideas to humanity. Nothing comes close at all. This is revolutionary, that God is compassionate and God forgives.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what to say about it. I know there's nothing. It's one of the hardest things to do. Also,
what do you mean?
To forgive is also extremely difficult. To ask for forgiveness.
What do you need for both?
Humility.
Humility. That's the key.
It is the key. But humility, honesty, honesty is probably the hardest pill to swallow at the end of the day.
You know what? Even when it comes to honesty, you need humility more.
It starts
because even though you know the guy did you bad and you're being honest, okay, you forgive. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're going to be dumb and naive next time. You might, be more careful. Okay, that's fine. But without humility, you cannot forgive and you cannot be forgiven. You can't.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Nope.
That's
why anava, humility, is the most important trait that the Torah tells us about. And the worst trait is arrogance to have. Those are two extremes that all good traits stem from humility, all evil traits stem from arrogance.
Yeah.
Those are core.
Okay. Now I want to go deeper in this part of the anava and then forgiveness, asking for forgiveness, and then the one that says, yes, you are forgiven. Well, anava on both sides. So on the one hand, when you have to ask for forgiveness, it really falls in line with Rosh HaShanah because it requires you to take into account of the actions that you committed.
You're judging yourself.
You're judging yourself. Yes. You're reflecting. You're acknowledging what you did wrong, and you're open enough to say that I'm going to take this next step of now asking this person who I wronged, and I'm willing to admit and acknowledge that I wronged them, and ask them, please spare me. Not even spare me. Please forgive me, so we can move on. And then the flip of it is the person who is receiving the forgiveness, and he decides whether he wants to forgive or not.
Yeah.
Right?
They have all the power.
They have all the power. They have all the leverage. And they can just say, nope, I have to try again. Or nope, you're not getting it from me. But it requires them to say, okay, I'll let it go. Let's move on.
What's the best way? When a person has the power to forgive, what is the best way for the person to reflect and think and make a decision?
What is the best way?
Yeah. What's the best thing to think about and say, okay, most likely I'm going to forgive?
I mean, my head's going to kids.
Kids?
No, I'm thinking future consequences.
No. You're thinking
too broad?
Too broad, yeah.
Okay.
Think of all the mistakes you made.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Think how flawed one is and say, how can I not forgive this guy who's flawed? I'm also flawed. I also wronged people. I also wronged God.
Right.
And if they're really sincere.
So that's the key, right? How do you judge sincerity?
But look at it this way.
Right.
Even if they're semi-sincere, isn't it better for you to move on?
Yeah.
At the end of the day?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, you're not only doing them good, you're doing yourself good
a
more.
Massive favor. Oh, yeah. You can.
You move on.
It's very easy. The amount of energy it takes to continue to be resentful and bitter and frustrated after. Oh, it drains you. It's all you. It consumes you.
It's what we say that person is living in your head.
Yeah. Free rent, right?
Yeah. Move on.
Free rent.
Yeah. Is it difficult sometimes? Yes. Sometimes is it financially because the person stole, he shafted me? Yes. Is it sometimes difficult because they insulted me in public? Yeah. No one said it's not difficult.
Right.
No one said it's not. Okay? However, is it better for me to say, I'm moving on? I'm not going to allow that person or that thing to hold back who I am. Because if I am, then I'm thinking too much of me, of myself, and my ego.
It requires strength, in a way.
Huh?
It requires a certain level of strength.
Enormous strength to do this.
Right?
Yeah. But it's something that you need to train yourself to.
Yeah.
As well as a person really needs to view themselves of what are we really? At the end of the day, what are we really? The Torah says this here and there. The book of Tehillim says it many, many times. Chachamim say it many times. What are we? We're made of dust. We're made of dust. We're finite. We're here today. We're gone tomorrow. And things go on without us. I'll give this example. It's a horrible example to my students.
Okay.
They're teenagers, of course. When we were teenagers, we're all that. Right? You have your whole life and future and all these things. Listen, it's very good. It's very good to have all these wonderful things. At the same time, I tell them, be humble. You know why? If all human population, all of it, die within 24 hours, every single human being dies within 24 hours. Isn't it interesting? Bugs, cows, monkeys, plants, trees, rocks, the entire earth will continue to exist without us completely. The earth has no need for us. We're not that important. Careful. This is what Chachamim say. Don't think yourself just so lofty. Meaning, don't be arrogant. What preceded you in creation? Bug, an insect.
The cockroach.
Cockroach, nothing. Yeah. Don't be so hot. Don't be haughty.
Yeah.
Be proud that God created you with His Tzelem Elohim. Meaning, let that part of you shine out. Not your ego, not your all that, because we're not all that. We're not. You want to know how we're not all that? Go to a hospital. You'll see. Go to a hospital. Go. Go to a cemetery. Just remember.
Yeah. Reality checks, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's part of Rosh HaShanah.
Yeah. It's the annual reality check.
So that's part of the rejuvenation cycle. The Chachamim took it away from the agricultural. Let's add a layer to something that has real meaning, because we're asking God for forgiveness. And we want to be forgiven in order for us to be able to continue comfortable with who we are in our lives. Which leads, of course, to Sukkot, which is really the Zeman Simchatenu, which is the time of our joy. Simcha in Judaism means being content. Being content is not only with the material things that we have, and we thank God, but we need to be content with who we are to oneself, comfortable with who we are, as well as to others. What am I doing for others that I'm also making them content. And it's all relative of what you can do. Give you an amazing example. One of my students, he wanted to do a club that helps the cupboard, the Hollywood cupboard that the Janays have.
Yeah, Ben Jane Dorit, sure.
Wonderful things they do, really. Kol hakavod. So the school said, listen, we have so many things that have to do with this volunteer stuff, and it's not part of the school, whatever it is, maybe you should do it on your own. He said, you know what, I'm going to do it on my own. Okay. So he started to get involved with them, and he realized that the way they stock things and the way they have inventory, it's a mess. What did he do? He wrote code with the software, right? And he shared it with them, and they said, oh my God, this is great. And now everything is organized.
Oh,
they know exactly what's going on. They know where things are going on. They have so much less work. This is a 16-year-old kid. That's what he did.
Yeah.
Did it cost him anything? No. He got volunteer hours, and good for him. But what we can do to others is all relative of our means. Yes, whatever we can do. Whatever it is. God doesn't stop doing. We should compete.
If we can even try.
It doesn't matter. We should strive to compete and say, I'm doing like you, God. I'm emulating you. This is what Chachamim tell us.
Yeah.
That we should emulate God as much as we can, because it's only going to give us good. Because everything that God does is good. So if I emulate Him in the right way, I know I'm doing good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's the criteria that really the Torah introduces, and Halakha introduces, and of course our ethos introduce. Do you know that nowhere prior to the Torah is there any code of Egyptians, Babylonians, that it says to give tzedakah, to take care of the poor? Nowhere. Nowhere. We, Jewish people, with our Torah, introduced philanthropy to the world. Another revolutionary idea.
It's all connected. It's all connected, by the way.
Again, the greatest ideas for humanity to be humane and human comes from the Torah.
But they're all connected. All these ideas that
Of
you just
course they
mentioned
are.
are connected.
So,
Not just that.
which is what?
Humility.
Humility.
They're
Because
all-
when you give, you're thinking about someone,
You're
not
thinking about
yourself.
someone else. When you forgive, or when you're asking for forgiveness, it requires that humility, right? When you're helping the ger, the toshav, the
Anyone.
the yatom, the almanah, it requires you to put yourself, take a step back, and allow the other person to enter the space as well, and give them the opportunity and help them.
Right. It's making you less selfish and more selfless.
More selfless. Yeah.
Yeah. But that is, however, you need to still be within your means of your dignity. That's where halakha comes into play of not too much.
Right.
Don't neglect yourself. Don't neglect your family. Don't neglect your future. Hold on. Don't be foolish and give it all away. No. Again, there's boundaries. Even within Hesed, kindness, there's still some boundaries. That's why you need to have that balance between law, halakha,
Right.
and Hesed. It's always like this.
It's always
If it's like
teetering.
this, it's no good.
Right. So Hasidim, when they're going lifnim mishurat hadin, right? They're not going, when it's funny when you say lifnim mishurat hadin, it's like, let's say, suppose this is the boundary. Like the boundary is this line. They're going just beyond. They're not going extremely above and beyond. It's within the range of
the
what
law.
of the what the
If
law.
they go extreme beyond, they'd be criticized.
They'd be
They
criticized.
say he's a Hasid Shoteh. He's a foolish Hasid.
Right.
He's not realizing the consequences and the ramifications of down the road. You might do, oh, this is great now, but 1 second. I just gave I gave my entire paycheck to the poor guy. But I have my wife, I have my kids. No, what did you do? You made them poor now. That's a shote. That's a foolish.
Yeah.
That is why it's important to always have boundaries. That's where halakha, Jewish law, comes within.
Yeah.
And what extra stuff can I do to another human being? Not God. When it comes to Hesed, it's strictly to another human. I cannot do more to God, quote unquote, than what he asks me to do. If I do more than what God tells me to do, I violated my relationship with God, and that's idolatry. Because I'm saying, I know better than you, God. And I'm going to worship you the way I say, not what you say. Many people have a hard time with this, by the way.
Well,
but that's their problem.
that's their
maybe they'll do Teshuva. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but no, that's a topic for another time. But
yes,
I think
that's a juicy one.
That's a very juicy topic. But I think ultimately what it comes down to, like you're saying, is when with Rosh HaShanah and Teshuva and having the opportunity of being able to take account, it's truly an opportunity that we can take. When you hear the shofar blowing in the synagogue, or when you're sitting at the meal alongside your friends, or when you're sitting down just having a few moments to yourself, even during the Musaf prayer, where there's so much that you're reading through that's supposed to get you thinking and inspire you and give you the opportunity to reflect.
A question that a person should ask themselves on a general basis, but now we're going to the high holidays.
Yeah.
Do I want to feel good about myself, or do I want to feel bad about myself? I would think anyone with right mind and scruples is going to say, I want to feel good about myself.
Okay, then
what are you going to do about it? That's it.
Okay, but then what's next there? Because that's such a broad.
What are you going to do about it?
Right.
So therefore, if I want to feel good about myself, I need to recognize what can I improve, what things that are making me feel bad, which are mistakes, I need to refrain from. Everything, good luck. 2 things, 3 things. I even tell my students, choose one thing. I tell them, you want to make Rosh HaShanah Kippur impactful? Take one thing on yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a mitzvah to do, or it could be something to refrain from. It could be being kinder to other people. It could be not speaking. It doesn't matter what it is. You know what's wrong, as well as you know what you need to do. You just do one thing. Your Yom Kippur is stellar, but stick to it and be persistent.
Right.
And next year, do another one. If you can do something more in the middle of the year, wonderful.
Right.
I'm sure you can. I say, you're not incompetent, are you? I say, raise your hand if you feel incompetent. No one raises their hand. This is amazing. I go, so you're not. But let's say you don't want to admit in public you're incompetent. So next year, add another thing. And you'll feel good about yourself. And I tell them this, because during the month of Elul, we have the Selichot.
Yeah.
And for 15 minutes, I'm watching these kids, 100 kids, boys and girls, do Selichot, and they're enjoying it. I sometimes watch and I'm moved. Sometimes I'm tearing. I can't believe this. And I'm saying, clearly they want to be inspired. Clearly something is moving in their soul. And after the Selichot, I compliment them and I say, use this as a stepping stone to say, I want to be forgiven by God. So what am I going to do now to ask God, please forgive me because I'm not going to do this again. Or please forgive me because I am going to start doing this. Doesn't matter. Like I say, it doesn't matter what it is. Stop thinking perfection. Stop thinking all or nothing. Because very often teenagers, they think extremes. I go, it's not all or nothing in Judaism. It's not. It's the best that you can do. And only God knows. And you know the best that you can do.
Yeah.
And just because you come from a home where your parents are like this and this and that, it doesn't mean you can't be better. Let me tell you a secret. Any parent that doesn't want their children to be better than them is a bad parent. I go, your parents want you to be better than them. Everything. How can they be envious of you? Because they only want the best for you. Where do you think they educated you? To be the same or worse? Really? They want you to be more. So use that also in your Judaism. And if you do that, do you know how much effect you'll have on them? And a number of them, they take it seriously and they change their family slowly. This is amazing. So it's all about how is this information, the Torah, how is it being presented? Did we use the word fear? Did we use the word tremble? Did we use the word terror? No. We only use the word merciful, forgiving, understanding, judging, better, good. We didn't even use the word punishment in this podcast because that's not who God is. God is only good. To Adonai lakol. God is good to all and everything in this universe, or else it would not exist.
V'rachamav.
And He has compassion on all of His doings, all of His creation. Right? That is how we should view God. We say this in Tishre. That should be like the focal point who God is. Not, I'm afraid of God. No. Be comfortable in God's presence by being comfortable with who you are. And do something about it. I'm a little uncomfortable. Okay, so change. God doesn't say you can't change. No, you can change. Nothing is predestined or preordained except death. Everything else is in our hands. God does not determine what I choose, who I want to be. We do.
And that really also is a part of what makes Rosh HaShanah so unique, because we have that choice.
Think about it. All pagans, all humans, back in the Torah time, before and after, everything is predestined. I have no say to how my life is going to unfold and be. Do you know what that does pretty much? The onus is on me. It's on the gods, that's it. Right? I didn't do it. Right? It ain't my fault. I can blame the other. And who's the other? The gods. That's what Adam did. He blamed God.
Ultimately.
It's what Eve did. She blames the so-called snake. No. That is not how the Torah guides us, nor is that how the Torah guides humanity. It moves away from this completely. And it, by the way, this concept of you decide your own destiny is one of the most foreign ideas in human history ever. Till today, among many people and cultures, it's foreign because they believe in astronomy.
Fate. Astrology.
Astrology.
And fate.
Fate. This is God's fate. This is it.
Predestined.
So basically, it allows me to be lazy. It allows me to be the way I am and not move forward and improve.
It's a victimhood mentality.
It's a victimhood mentality.
Yeah.
That is not our system. That is not Judaism. It's not halakha.
Yeah.
That's why the Torah is a dynamic system, and that's why our podcast is called the Dynamic Tora. And on that note, we'll call today's episode to an end.
That's part one for the Rosh HaShanah miniseries. So, Baruch Adonai Le'olam.
Amen.
Amen.